Good evening. Consider this common scenario. You're training strenuously in a gym for a wrestling match that will occur in less than 2 weeks. You are attempting to lift a 500-pound weight, and you have no idea if this is possible. Well, after about trying for like 2 minutes, you can barely get up to your shoulders without feeling physically fatigued. After about a 2-minute pause, you take a rest, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to get this over my head. So you push with all your might, but by the time you've got it 2 inches above your head, you're done in. So you go home, and because you are so tired from this one activity of lifting the weight, you immediately go to bed for the night. Ironically, however, you get up at 6 a.m. in the morning and go directly to the same gym. Surprisingly, you are able to lift that same 500-pound weight without feeling any fatigue. May I ask, how is this possible? You know, scientifically speaking, you must work for hours upon hours to train your muscles before you can lift heavy objects like 500-pound weights. And you also don't get that much energy from just one night's sleep. So now 2 questions exist. How am I able to do this without no fatigue? The common question is steroids. Steroids allow people to do things they would not be able to do in their normal lifestyles. Throughout this speech, I will give you 3 questions. I will tell you the harmful effects of steroids. I will show you the people that were known to use them over the past few years, and I will show you how people can eliminate the harmful usages of steroids. Back in 2003, there was a survey conducted by the Juvenile Business Surveillance System that specified 5.5% of the females that were tested had tried to use steroids while they were teenagers. However, the males painted a different picture. 6.5% of them had already used steroids by the time they themselves had become teenagers. Now that I have shown you the number of people that have used steroids, I will now show you the harmful effects of using those steroids unnecessarily. When people constantly use steroids, they are to experience 3 possible dangers. The Academy of Ophthalmology in 2009 specified that if you use corticosteroids, you will develop cataracts later in life. This finding was specified when that study was concluded in April of this past year. And 70% of the people that were tested out of 100,000 had indeed contracted cataracts from using this type of steroid. Another side effect that you can receive from using steroids is you can either develop heart disease because of your body developing blood, arteries are becoming clogged, and you can also die. This outcome depends upon how the victim's bodies respond to the treatment of the steroids. How are they able to get these steroids inside themselves, may you ask? Well, this is possible in 3 ways. For one, they can voluntarily take the steroids by taking them with a glass of water. So in other words, they can take it orally inside themselves. Another way they can have steroids is by injecting themselves with a syringe. The most common steroids that were injected in this fashion were called android steroids. there is one last way they can successfully inject steroids. While the other two ways discussed, them voluntarily taking the drug, some people are exposed to the drug through the negligent actions of others. I will now disclose how this occurs. 66% of America's cattle are injected with testosterone steroids. Since these animals are commonly known to live in the wild, whenever they have waste materials, the waste materials are leaked into the streams. So, because the people that use the farms do not purify the water, once these are exposed, people can contain the harmful effects of steroids by drinking the water that is contaminated. Now that I have exposed how people can come in contact with steroids involuntarily, it is now time to discuss how we can eliminate this problem. For one thing, when people give steroids to their cattle, they should make a law that says if you give steroids to your cattle, you must design a system that purifies the water so people will not get sick. If you do not, you will be imprisoned for 7 days for willfully hurting your neighbors. There has already been a law to establish this, but people are still giving their cattle steroids behind the backs of law officials. Another thing you can do is to fine people for openly giving steroids to their friends. If they give steroids to their friends, they should be imprisoned for a whole week. If they repeat the offense, they should be imprisoned for another week. One last way to improve this scenario of steroids is to continually remember that we as American citizens are supposed to help our neighbors enjoy the freedoms. If people continually give steroids to their friends willfully, they are not helping them enjoy their life. They are causing them to become distracted with all of the side effects of taking steroids, and they will not live peacefully. Because they have violated this trust, they need to be harshly punished for this in order to avoid the use of excessive steroids. Good evening.